Another day, another win for the Phoenix Suns as they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers by a score of 113 to 1. Oh no, 119 to 113. I'm sorry. Suns win by 6 points over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Very fun game to watch. Really kind of a rough one, Matthew, considering how many guys for the Phoenix Suns were actually out.
Yeah, it was rough, but a lot of us probably predicted a loss tonight, right, for the Suns. And if it happened, oh well. But they came out fighting, dude. It was a whole team effort. A lot of minutes played by the starters. They had to do what they had to do to get this win. Very good Cavs team. Very fun to watch. So I'm excited to watch them more in the future, of course. But you can see my dirty laundry in the background. John, did you put away the chocolate strawberries on your honeymoon just to do this podcast today?
Well, one, no honeymoon, just up watching a friend's house in Sedona.
Yeah.
And two, somehow, some way, I had the ability to watch part of the game. It's very interesting driving around Sedona at nighttime because it's completely dark. It's so dark here. And I went to go get some pizza because we drove up here late today and didn't really have any food prepared. We got to go to the grocery store tomorrow. Uh-oh. And so I went and I got some pizza. And as I was driving, I was listening to the game on the radio, got some pizza, drove back. Thank God for Chromecast, cast the game to the TV, saw the second half. So I do know a little bit of what went on between the Suns and the Cavs. Obviously, I'll probably rely on you a little bit more, seeing as you wrote the recap piece for brightsideofthesun.com. So if you're watching along with us, make sure that you stop by Brightside and you read Matthew's recap. I'm sure it is an invigorating read, right, Matthew?
It's all right. I do my best word for word. I really take my time and study the game as much as I can, but I don't remember the first half. So we might just have to do the second half. I will do my best, Sean.
Okay. Well, and I will do my best again. I'm out in the boondocks in Sedona. So if my connection drops midway through, I'm sorry, Matthew, you're going to have to ride this thing solo. And you're just going to have to just log off. I don't know what you're going to do. But lots to talk about as the Suns are now 14-9 on the season and holding strong at the number 4 seed in the Western Conference. If you are watching along live with us, we truly appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening to the podcast. If you're on YouTube, smash that thumbs up button. We appreciate it. Make sure that you subscribe on YouTube as well. You can follow the show at Suns Jam on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can follow me on Twitter at Darth Voida. You can follow Matthew on Twitter
at Matthew Lissy.
Fantastic. All right, Matthew. I'm up here. I'm in the boondocks. I'm in Sedona. I have a truly strawberry lemonade.
Okay.
That's what I'm drinking tonight. So,
yeah, take that home, baby.
So, pop them if you got them, Suns fans. Ooh, always good to drink after another win. So, cheers. Let's talk Suns, baby. So the Phoenix Suns are playing the second game in 2 games. One day after beating the Boston Celtics, they play the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that is pesky for sure. They entered this game with a 10-14 record. A lot of people didn't expect them to play as hard as they have up to this point of the season. They're a team that was a part of the Harden trade and ended up getting Jarrett Allen out of the deal. A lot of people question why, seeing as you have JaVale McGee, you have Andre Drummond, you have Kevin Love, who's not currently playing. I mean, they have all these huge mammoth human beings, and they add another one with Jarrett Allen, and this is what you get. You get a tough, pesky team that can just kind of annoy people, and even though the Suns had multiple people out tonight, you knew it was going to be an annoying game, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the Cavs basically coming to this game, they're thinking they can beat the Suns. The Suns, of course, without Chris Paul, another way to beat them. And plus, the Cavs are up and coming. They want to show every team in the NBA that they have it. They can beat the teams like the Phoenix Suns, even if they're shorthanded, in a season where it doesn't really matter because every team is shorthanded. So if a team's shorthanded, it's not really an excuse. It's basically like, you have to go out there and own your business, basically. And that's what the Suns did. But the Cavs hung around, Suns, I think, only had a 7-point lead max in the first half, but the Cavs kept pushing it back, kept pushing the tempo, going in the paint. Sexland was unstoppable from the beginning till the end. They could not contain him. Mikal Bridges could not contain him. Cameron Johnson could not contain him. But luckily, we have Devin Booker. And that was really the reason for us winning this game, because he was able to end the game for us basically with his best game of the season so far. Not the 40-point burger we wanted, but he got 36.
Yeah, he definitely came out and just said, you know what? No Chris Paul this game. I'm going to have to control the pace. I'm going to have to control the scoring. I'm going to have to lead the way for this young Suns team. And I think he did a really fantastic job doing that. He started the first half, in the first quarter, 7 for 10 from the field for 17 points.
Yes.
And the largest lead for the Suns in the first half was actually 12, Matthew, 12 points.
Told you I was not paying attention.
and I think that it was very interesting to see how he put them on his back in the first quarter and said, okay, listen, I'm going to go to the bench right now. I'm going to take some time off. You guys just kind of hold it down. And the Suns, for the most part, did. I mean, the bench played very well. This was a game where you needed everybody who started and everybody who played to step up. And as Luis says in the chat, he says the Suns' depth was key today. Moore, Carter, Kaminsky were key to keep us in this for Book to close it. Book can't close this game without the efforts of those other individual players. Etuan Moore getting the start, Frank Kaminsky getting the start. Like, if you told me January 1st, so not too long ago, a month and 7 days ago, if you told me that Frank Kaminsky and Devin Booker, or I'm sorry, Frank Kaminsky and Etuan Moore were going to start for the Suns, I would have told you an instant L, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you still have the confidence from Chris Paul on the bench. You know, that helps a lot. But yeah, you're right, because this is basically like the Suns in the past few seasons where it's just Booker and Ayton, and then you have to put up with the rest of the roster and try to get things going. And there were a lot of these games were close in the past. But you have Frank Kaminsky, man. This guy's actually putting up those small triple-doubles out there. Not quite reaching the triple-double, but they're almost there. They're sneaky almost there. And he's doing it like again and again and again, finding the passes like they did last game where they were just cutting to the rim. Everybody was getting to the rim. Everybody was trying to get to the rim, even on the Cavs side. But you can, dude, Frank Kaminsky with his moves he had today were just insane. I think that's the reason JaVale McGee got in a fight with him, because of that spin move he put on him with the layup. That is the reason the whole thing started, where he got kicked out for fighting. So if he can continue that for the Suns, it's marvelous. But yeah, January 1st, if you were to tell me that, I'd be like, oh, great. Are we really going to podcast this season then? That's what I would have told you. That's what I would have responded to you, dude.
And I would have responded to you, Matthew. I would have been like, same old Suns. Somehow, some way, like everybody's hurt. We're going to be losing a shit ton of games, and it's all over. Not only did Etuan Moore and Frank Kaminsky start, the Suns win with their efforts. Frank Kaminsky getting under people's skin. I mean, who would have saw the progression from Frank that we're currently seeing? I didn't see it coming. I know that when we let him go in this offseason to make room for other players, it's a little upsetting because you like the guy. I mean, he's not somebody who was a Suns favorite necessarily due to his play, but his personality was definitely top 5 on the Suns. He goes to Sacramento. He runs into issues there to where he doesn't get out of preseason camp with them. He comes back to Phoenix. We actually started here on the podcast, hashtag bring back Frank. And the next day they did. So you're welcome, Suns.
You're welcome.
It was the Jamsters, not just us. It was the Jamsters in the chat who were feeding Monty Williams and James Jones, letting them know, it's like, hey, bring Frank back. He comes back. He's given opportunity, and he's done great things with that opportunity. Now, granted, in this game, his second half wasn't nearly as effective as his first half. His first half, he had 7 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, and only 1 foul. You look at his second half, he only had 2 points, 2 assists, and 4 fouls. But he did get under JaVale McGee's skin, who was hitting like 3-pointers tonight. I didn't even know that was in his game. He had a 3. I was like, whoa, what the hell? JaVale McGee's dropping 3s. But Frank Kaminsky got under his skin and got him ejected in the game. And I feel like that was kind of a big moment for the Suns, because that took one of the 3 big guys that they have. It took him out of the equation. So there were lineups that they had to run the remainder of the game that didn't have those big men in there.
Yeah, and it's great to have the crowd back in there too, because when it happens, you have the chance of Frank the Tank echoing in the arena. So that's exactly what the Suns need as a franchise. It's Frank starting a fight, or I don't know if he started it, because he really didn't see much of it. It was just a pushing fight and getting him ejected. So that was fantastic. But the reason that Frank is doing so well, I really think, is he's not taking those errant threes where last season where he would just shoot the three. No matter where he was on the court, no matter who was in his face, he would just jack him up there. Now he's looking for the other player, the other guy that's open, his teammates that are cutting to the rim, but also just getting to the rim as well himself. He won't force anything at all. And that's why I think Cam Johnson's learning from him too as well. I'm not saying they play the same kind of game at all. I mean, they really don't. Oh, maybe they actually kind of do. Cam Johnson and Frank Kaminsky shoot threes, take the ball to the rim. Yeah, I guess they're the same player. I'm totally joking there, actually. And I think he's been a lot to this team more than just the bench guys. So we've seen that on the court, and I don't see it ever really slowing down, really, because when we get these players back, especially Saric and Jay Crowder, we know he's going to have his minutes dwindle down a little bit, but that's fine. I think he's going to be okay with that, and Suns fans will too as well.
Yeah, he's doing what he needs to do right now to survive this stretch without Saric, without Campaign, without all these key players, without Nader playing tonight. So anytime your number is called, you have to have the ability to go out and provide a quality performance, and Frank once again did that. I think what's really key with Frank is what you mentioned. His gravity this year is completely different than last year. Last year, it was like, even when he was playing the five, it was, I'm just going to hang out by the three-point line and maybe roam out there, and when the ball comes my way, I'll shoot it. He's playing more of a big four right now. He's getting down in the paint. He's doing back screens and opening up his fellow teammates. And when he does drift out to the three-point line, he's looking to pass first, and then he'll shoot the three-pointer. He's not necessarily jacking up a million threes. He only had one three-point attempt tonight, and it was good. That's what you want to see from Frank.
Exactly.
It was those frustrating 2-for-7 3-point performances last year that really kind of dwindled our admiration for his game, because he started off the year great shooting from three. When Aaron Baines and DeAndre Ayton both were out last season, he provided minutes. They weren't necessarily quality, but there were some games, especially against the Charlotte Hornets, his former team, if I remember correctly, where he kind of put it all together and played below the key. When he starts to play below the key, it opens up a lot of his game. And again, we're talking about the one starter who, for the second game in a row, didn't score in double digits, but that's how much the Frank Kaminsky effect has been on the Suns. It's equated to wins ever since Monty's put him in the starting lineup, and that's very valuable.
It really is. And you also saw with the Suns tonight, just the movement of the ball and just the pace too. Without Chris Paul there, it was a really free-for-all. And I think they played very well. There was really good, I feel like there was a good connection between the offensive starters, even when the bench would come in there, even though we had most of the bench in the starting unit, but they would just play well together, and they seemed to push the ball, more fast breaks, it seemed like. I like that offense kind of, everyone was just sharing it. Everyone was touching it. And that's what I love to see, especially when you're going to have Etuan Moore start the point guard position, but it's going to be a point book game. And I mean, Booker, I don't know if you want to talk about him now, but he just basically got his shot going, and he went through the second quarter not scoring a point. And I feel like he does it every game, right? Where he just doesn't score a point in the second quarter, but he will continue to get a shot up if he wants, but also get the offensive involved. And then towards the end of the game, he didn't make big mistakes. He really didn't. And that's the thing, Booker in the past, where he would be that guy to make the big mistakes. But I don't always want 36 points, of course. I just want this Booker that's a winning basketball book. He just had to score a little extra tonight to get the win.
Well, I like efficient Booker. I've always been a big fan of efficient Booker, and that's what he was. Like I said, in that first quarter, 17 points on 7 of 10 shooting. That's how you do it. The second quarter was him trying to be a little bit more of the playmaker. That's what he had to be with Chris Paul being out. So that's what he did. And like you said, he wasn't necessarily making a lot of mistakes, not only at the end of the game, but in the second quarter when he kind of put the team on his back. Now, granted, he ended the game with a total of 4 turnovers, but when he's your primary ball handler, I'm okay with the 4 turnovers. They weren't dumb turnovers. It wasn't dribbling it off his foot or anything, or throwing it out of bounds to nobody who's standing there. None of those minutes. But 36 points from Devin Booker, the top scoring performance of his season so far. 14 for 27, but 5 for 9 from downtown, and that's what I like to see. Devin Booker needs to take those 3-pointers. He typically will end his stat line with 1 of 3 or 2 of 3. If he shoots 5, you're really excited. He shot 9 because that's what the Cleveland Cavaliers were kind of giving him. He stepped away from the mid-range and said, okay, well, I'll shoot these out here. And he was making them, including that 4-point play, which I think was absolutely big. Finished with 36 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. A quality night by Devin Booker. great to see him, like you said, in the last 5 minutes of the game, allow his teammates to play, not take over in the Booker ball sense that we used to see about a year, especially 2 years ago. The old Booker ball, listen, there's 3 minutes left. This game's close. Yeah. I'm going to take all the shots, and the defense knows it. As the defense rotated around and tried to guard him in those last few minutes, guess what? Other members of the team got the ball, and they had the opportunity to step up, and including Cam Johnson, who finally hit a 3, and it was a huge 3. I mean, his growth in that area is something that should be commended, and something that I will sit here and applaud.
Beautiful. Little
good on you, Book.
We love that. And my screen's turning yellow and all this stuff. I don't know what's going on, but there is something that I watched tonight where Kevin O'Connor released his power rankings basically, and he had something on Kawhi, and he was showing Kawhi how he just draws everybody in, and these sick passes Kawhi can make to the open player or his open teammate. And I'm not saying Booker's there yet, but that is something that I want Book to kind of become. It's just that guy that goes down into the paint, into mid-range, where everyone knows anywhere in that area as a defender, Book can score from there. So if he can just he will draw the defenders, but just making those passes is like the next step. Those really good passes where you might think he's going one way, but he goes the other way. And he just needs his teammates to knock him down, of course. And they did tonight. Cam Johnson hit some big threes tonight, and it was very well earned, dude. Kind of an off night for him, but it wasn't ugly though. He just missed his first 6 threes or so. Yeah, but it was like, it does suck, but you can just see that he got it going in the second half. So all is excused after that, because I mean, he's going to have his off nights. He's, like we said in the beginning of the season, he's not going to be consistent from the 3-point line every game. So it's fine to see once in a while.
Yes, sir. And kudos to everyone who's watching along in the chat. A lot of Kobe comparisons. You got Ross Rogers, fourth quarter Book was Mamba mode. Kenneth Payne says that Book was like Kobe tonight. And I think, it was really the turnaround jumper that he hit from probably about 15 feet that looked just like patented Kobe Bryant, but it was absolutely, it felt like Mamba mode out there. He was being legendary, and he said, I will not let this team lose. Because guess what? When you are outmanned the way that the Suns were tonight, there's plenty of opportunity to lose a game like this, and we know that. CP3's not playing. That's big. Jay Crowder's out. Sarge is out. Nader's out. Campaign's out. Jalen Smith didn't play. I mean, it's just down the roster and the lineup card. You just see a bunch of DNPs. The Suns played a 9-man rotation tonight, whereas it was a 10-man rotation for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they just kept throwing guys at you. And you know what? So the Suns really, led by Devin Booker, pulled this one out and closed it out, which was it was fun. It's fun to watch those games, knowing that you have D Book. And it was like last night and multiple times this season when Chris Paul's there, that you have 2 closers, and we're 14-9 now because of that.
Yeah, because we have those guys. You're right. And it's kind of fun too, if you go to the other side and you're watching Sexland perform, and you're just like, this is going to be a dynamic duo, dude. They were just unstoppable. So it's good to have that. We have our duo, but it's just fun to see a team out east like the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have been terrible for a while since LeBron left, of course. Now they have something there. And I just like it how every team has something to watch. Like, I wish I could watch more of their games, because those guys are just unstoppable. Like, I don't know what they can or cannot do on the court. They can shoot from anywhere. They have the floaters. Garland has. Yeah,
you love those floaters. I saw those like 3 or 4 times tonight. I'm like, Matthew's loving this.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect, because you have DA under the hoop who's just ready to try to get the board, the rebound, trying to prevent the offensive rebound. So just throw that little teardrop over them, and that's the way they play. And I'm very, very happy to see the Cavs in this kind of situation right now.
As Mook Allen says in the chat, they are super fast.
They are up and down, right?
Up and down. I mean, is Colin Sexton pretty much a right-handed version of De'Aaron Fox?
Oh, you know what I put actually in the game recap? I put he's a Eric Bledsoe, but very, very good body language. Like a very upright Eric Bledsoe, and a guy you can root for. even because I think he was compared to him too coming out of the draft, but you can kind of see it. But I think he is better than Bledsoe, though, honestly, because I never really liked Bledsoe that much before when I really liked him and I just wanted to get the other 2 point guards out of Phoenix. I really liked Bledsoe then.
And as Chris J says, friggin' Garland getting to the rack whenever. Both Garland and Sexton pretty much had their way getting to the rack. And I was actually really surprised in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game when they called that offensive foul on Sexton, because he hooked under Cam Johnson's arm and kind of held on to him because he was going by Johnson and Bridges at will. And those, as much as we love Mikal Bridges, and kudos to him tonight, 22 points, 5 assists, 8 for 10 shooting for Mikal. Monster offensive night for him. But defensively, those are the guys that give Mikal a little bit of trouble. The guys who are extremely quick twitch and have the ability to stop and go on a dime. Although he has that length, he doesn't necessarily have the lateral movement to stop somebody, obviously, with elite speed. These are elite speed guys that can beat Mikal. It's not very many people that can beat Mikal, but these are the kind of guys who can do it. De'Aaron Fox is somebody else who can do it, and that's why I was thinking when I saw Colin Sexton go to the rim at will, and whenever Darius Garland got switched onto Bridges and he'd go by him, I was like, these guys remind me of De'Aaron Fox just with their speed. I mean, even with Mikal's long arms, the long arm of the Mikal Law, he can't necessarily stop them with his lateral quickness.
Yeah, that's when you're a very good player in the NBA, when you can get got by a guy like that. Excuse me. Having trouble speaking tonight, like always. And if you go past Mikal Bridges and then you also got Cam Johnson to blow past those guys with your first move, it's crazy. I almost threw my hat at the TV. I'm like, stop this guy. I haven't been that upset watching Mikal play defense in a long time, but you just know that guy is just that great. And sometimes just the great offense is better than their better defense, the best defense you have on the court.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And then you look at Cam Johnson. We talked about him a little bit earlier. Some of our Jamsters are talking about it in the chat. Cam almost hurt himself on that dunk. He slammed it into his own face. That dunk was a great take by him. I love seeing those opportunities because it happens more than I think that he realizes, is when he gets the ball, that sometimes the Red Sea just parts wide open for him and he can take it because they're expecting him to shoot the three. So if somebody's closing on him from the weak side, he can just take it in. It was great to see him play in that capacity. I mean, he got a lot of minutes, unfortunately, for the Suns in the second half because Kaminsky kept getting in foul trouble, man. A couple of the Jamsters are mentioning it too. Viking says it, refs were ass tonight. I mean, I hate those games where I feel like the refs are getting pesky, and the JaVale McGee call went in our favor, but instantly right after that, Jaren Allen went up for a layup and no one touched him. He was just fading away and they called a foul. And I was like, oh, great. Here we go again. One of these games where we're playing against a team that is inferior overall, but having the night of their life. I mean, both teams were essentially the first half. The Suns shot 60% from the field while the Cleveland Cavaliers shot 56%. But the Suns at the end of the day got called with a total of 20 fouls, and so did the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I feel like everything kind of evened itself out in the end. But did you feel at one point it was starting to become a game that was in the hands of the referees?
There was a time a little bit, and I feel like, of course, we have to begin kind of with this, with Booker not getting calls. There were so many calls that he should have got, and God forbid I mention the guy's name, but you know who, I even saw it in a tweet, would get those calls, throwing his body into defenders that were trying to block his shot from the 3-point line, and Book was not getting the calls. And even with him driving to the basket, there were a couple times too as well. I don't know what to do with the refs and stuff with the Suns still, because this is still a question after this game. Of course, we're already more than a quarter away into the season. You think it would even out a little bit, but it hasn't. And it's not like it almost cost the Suns, but it's just something that we always have to worry about as Suns fans going into every game, especially with Booker still not getting the respect he deserves.
Yeah, there was at one point Darius Garland got a call, and it was on Devin Booker, and the next take down, Devin Booker went up and was fouled, and they didn't call it. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this guy's an all-star. He's a perennial great player in this league. He's an elite scorer. He doesn't get the call. Yet Darius Garland gets a call. And it's tic-tac stuff. I'm not saying blatant. I'm saying tic-tac stuff, but either be consistent or don't. And the guy you're referencing, good old Luka Doncic over there, he gets those calls walking into the arena. I don't know why Devin Booker can't get those calls. And I'll consistently talk about it on this podcast because I'm a Suns fan, and it frustrates me, as I'm sure it frustrates other people. Where Devin Booker, he create contact? Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, if you look consistently across the NBA, whenever I'm watching other games and I'm seeing how other superstars perform, even stars, even mid-level guys, they get those calls. And I just don't know what it is about Devin Booker. I think it's because he's kind of chirpy with the refs. He's not very respectful of them. He's not chummy with them. He always has that scowl on his face. And from a human element, I don't think that the referees want to reward him at any point ever unless it's blatant. And unfortunately, it works against him. He could average like 3 more free throws a game if he just smiled at the refs a little bit more.
You think so? I don't know. That's really tough to say because I feel like a lot of players like Doncic, they're big crybabies all the time. So
but it's different though. When Doncic does it, it's more of a whiny, like a little
that's
baby
more annoying,
crying,
though, right?
But I would rather Booker does it aggressively. He's looking at you like, "Hey, asshole, call that shit." Instead of being like, "But why didn't you call it?" It's a completely different conversation.
But in a man kind of way, instead of being a baby about it. If you're putting it with a baby, I feel like that's more annoying, dude. That's why a lot of people leave their kids because they're just fucking annoying.
It's just stupid. Oh, Matthew, what am I going to do with you? What am I going to do with you? Well, I'll tell you what.
Strawberries.
I tell you what we're going to do now. It's about that time. It's everybody's favorite segment for
Ayton Watch 2021.
DeAndre Ayton, he was jamming tonight, my friend.
Yeah, he looked good. I mean, the boards were we really needed him, of course. That's just his thing now. 16 of them was great, 15 points. He had a really good first quarter, too, with 12 points. He came out strong, man. I think that he wasn't really asking for the ball down low, which was fine. It was just basically him trying to handle both those knuckleheads down low, especially with Frank Kaminsky with the help he was getting from him. But you can only get so much help from Frank Kaminsky. Just DA was solid tonight, and I love like his interview after the game. I didn't get to finish it, but he's just so playful and fun. I need to hear more interviews with him because every time he's on the screen or anything that has to do with the Suns and him, I love it, dude. He's very, very sweet, a big sweetheart. I feel like that he is. And I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but that's what I always hear when people first meet him. Like, he's the nicest guy ever. But the way he played tonight was very aggressive. I felt like I mean, on the offensive end, maybe not as much, but we should have maybe counted those dunks for tonight instead of what was it last night? Because I think how many dunks did he have tonight? Was it like 2 or 3?
I felt it was 3 or 4. I mean, there was Devin Booker was feeding him the way that he should be fed. Mm-hmm. Devin Booker is throwing the ball up at the certain area just shy of the backboard, and DA goes up and puts it in. And I feel like I wish Chris Paul would do that a little bit more. I wish that he would open the Ayton up a little bit. And don't get me wrong. Yeah. I mean, feeding the ball to Ayton's a task because you don't know if DA is always going to bring the ball down. But he had a great game tonight, especially like you said, dealing with those 2 knuckleheads. He had to go up against both size and girth in Drummond and Jared Allen. I mean, trying to defend the Afro alone is tough. And having the ability to go down and hold his own and, knowing that Frank Kaminsky, even though, as we mentioned a little bit earlier in the podcast, how he does a really good job as of late playing the 4 and playing below the key, he's not necessarily there on the defensive end to get all the boards. That's DA's job. And that's what DA did tonight. Like you said, had a total of 16 rebounds. The key for him, 8 of them were on the offensive side. 8.
I know.
That one was absolutely huge. As Mook Allen says in the chat, I had no frustrations with Ayton tonight. This was a great game for DeAndre Ayton. Mario Lopez says it as well. I'll even give Monte 1289 a shout out. His balls hang low tonight. I mean, dude, he was a man amongst men tonight. Kudos to you, DeAndre Ayton. I hope you're watching the show.
Yeah, he out offensive rebound both those guys. Drummond had 5, Allen had 2, so 7 is less than 8. So offensive rebound both of them. And it was a lot of tips too. A lot of times where he was just tipping the ball out there where they even had another chance at it and they just, they kind of missed it. So it's just great, He's basically just becoming more active. When he knows what the task is at hand, he'll go into the game and just basically be like, you know what, I have to be that guy in the paint to handle things. And he did tonight. He definitely, even if he scored 0 points tonight and missed an alley-oop dunk or twice or 2 of them, I would be fine because we just needed him down low, really. And he excelled tonight. I really think so.
Really
I'm
did.
talking really weird.
And as Nathaniel says in the chat, only one turnover. His hands were good tonight. And that's what you like to see,
Yeah.
especially after a game against Boston where he kept bringing the ball down and it kept getting swatted away. And he had, I think, 5 turnovers yesterday against the Celtics. It's nice to see DeAndre Ayton provide that kind of presence down low. I appreciate when he's aggressive, Ayton, and he was on both ends of the floor. And again, I didn't see the whole game, but from what I saw, fantastic performance by DeAndre Ayton. Makes me smile from ear to ear, even though I'm drinking a truly strawberry lemonade.
That's fine. Is that worse than a White Claw? Or White Claw?
It's a lot more sugary.
Oh, yeah. See, you're gonna have a headache tonight.
Oh man, no, I'm gonna go right to the whiskey after this because I'm a man. I'm a man, dude. A couple of people mentioned in the chat, and I thought it was worth bringing up. As Noah says, Ayton played great tonight. You know, Ayton was the guy who got the nod with Chris Paul being out. There was some pregame talk amongst Suns Twitter whether it should be Ayton, whether it should be Javon Carter. You know, knowing that you have Darius Garland and Colin Sexton. Javon Carter could be somebody who's pesky enough to provide some defensive presence on them. But it looked like Monty said, I want somebody who can play make and push the ball. And so he went with Ayton more. What did you think of him tonight?
Oh, he had like a sneaky 17 points. You know, I love to see him on the court. He did. Honestly, I think I only saw him score twice that I remember. And that's weird to say because he had 17 points. But I mean, he kind of worked his way up to this. It's kind of like it worked in Suns' favor where maybe they knew they had this back-to-back. So they're like, we're going to rest Chris Paul. So we need someone to step up. Let's start giving each one more and more minutes. And he just continued to like find himself in the offense. He's a great guy to trust with the ball in his hands. And he continues to be that guy. And Javon Carter, I mean, you can't start him. I mean, if I was a head coach, I would start him 40 minutes because I love the guy for some reason. But for Javon to come in later in the game to play just good defense when we need it. Him and Galloway, you know, you have Galloway for the offensive end, who's also a sneaky rebounder. Galloway, you got to look out for that because he can get those rebounds. He'll be in there. And then you have Javon Carter on the defensive end helping out when we need it to the best of his ability. That's great to have off the bench too as well. So I'm glad Ayton worked his way up to the starting lineup. I mean, what did you think, dude? It was a sneaky 17 points, right?
Yeah, when I looked at the final box score, I didn't realize it, but then you realize it was efficient. It was on 7 of 10 shooting. He picked and chose his spots. He did a great job of getting to the rim. Wasn't somebody who was chucking up necessarily a ton of bad shots, obviously, with the 7 of 10 stat line, but only shot the 1 3-pointer and made it. I mean, that's what you want to see from a guy who's being brought in to facilitate an offense. Is to be efficient and be effective. I mean, overall as a team, you look at some of the team stats. I mean, the Suns shot 52% from the field in this game. 52%. They shot 45% from downtown, only shot 24 threes. And obviously that is a credit to the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers aren't necessarily what you would call an elite defense. I wouldn't call them a good defense. I would call them a less than average defense. And they allowed the Suns a lot of really good looks, but the Suns also took advantage of those looks. What I love about this game is the Suns didn't fall in love with the 3-ball, because guess what? The 3-ball was there aplenty tonight. And it could have been one of those games where they decided, you know what? We're shooting 40 of these fuckers tonight. They only shot 24, 11 for 24. That's what I like to see. That means that the majority of their shots are coming at the rim or in the mid-range where we are an effective team. And you couple with that the fact that as a team, they only had 10 turnovers, so they were holding on to the ball. They had 60 of their total points in the paint. So that's how you want this team to win. That's how this team's effective. We aren't the Houston Rockets of old where we can hit a gazillion threes, and we don't want to be the Houston Rockets of old. Because we can't hit a million threes, because guess what? It never worked out for Houston either. And I think that early on, and when we had some of those losses, that when the Suns start to fall in love with the 3-ball, we start to lose some games. I mean, how many we were 8-8 at one point in the season, right? So we were 6-1 in our last 7 games. Like, let's fucking go, Suns.
Yeah, that's how you do it. And basically, the way the Suns started the season was it was either all or nothing from 3. But then you learn that these guys have different abilities on the court. I mean, they are just improving off of each other, finding ways to score in other ways, and just dishing it out when they can when they're driving to the hoop. I love to see that, just moving the ball around. They're doing that a lot more, even with Point Book. Even though Book didn't really have the assists, but you can tell he's getting his teammates involved. 36 points, though, doesn't really show like him being a ball hog in this game, like Kobe Bryant maybe used to be, because I just think that the team itself still had great game. Like all of them had a great game together and individually as well. Even if the stats aren't there for all of them, like even Jones was in there tipping the ball once. Like he had 2 really good tips. That's why I love Jones. He comes and gives you like 2 good tips on the defensive end or offensive end to try to get the ball alive. Even that's awesome. Even I love that so much. And I say that every pod, even if the Suns lose, even though they haven't really lost lately, but he does do that. So to the best of their ability, even if the three is not falling, the Suns finding other ways to score, and they are the monsters of the mid-range, John.
Absolutely. I mean, that's this team right now. It's where they're effective. It feels like it's going in almost every time. And if they continue to attack the opposition in that manner, we're going to continue to see wins. Now, granted, the competition's going to get tough starting on Wednesday, and we'll talk about that momentarily as Giannis and the Bucks come to town. But these are games you're supposed to win. And it's nice to sit on a podcast after a game and talk about how the Suns handle business against a team they were supposed to beat. This isn't New Orleans last week where we lost that game. This isn't Detroit earlier in the season and Washington early in the season where we should have won those games, and unfortunately we fell in love with the 3-ball and lost. This is a team you're supposed to beat. Now, granted, knowing that the Suns were unbelievably undermanned, I wouldn't have been thoroughly upset if they had lost, because sometimes it just happens that way. Like I said earlier, if you told me Etuan Moore and Frank Kaminsky were 2 of the starting 5 tonight, and you told me we would have won the game a month ago, I thought you were crazy. I'm like, what happened? What were we playing the Cavs? And then
you would have probably punched me in the face, right?
I would have, but not really. I'm not that kind of a guy. Okay, I would just verbally lash you on Twitter,
just
like the rest of Suns Twitter does. We're really good at talking shit on Twitter, and then when we see each other in real life, we smile, wave, and give an air high five. So
we realize we're just torsos, and that's basically it.
Yeah, we both have no legs.
You don't want to punch a torso.
So I think it's time for the
Jam Star of the Game.
So if you're watching along in the chat, please let us know who you think your jam star of the game is. And I guess this is a good time to remind everybody who is watching and or listening to subscribe to the podcast. Smash that thumbs button or that thumbs up button below. If you're watching, it helps with algorithms and lets other Suns fans know where to come to get the fun Phoenix Suns content after games. And if you're listening on the Bright Side of the Sun podcast network, please subscribe, rate, and review. So Matthew, I think this is another one of those easy answers. We could probably debate a little bit, but who is your jam star of the game?
I'm gonna give it to Booker. Just with a nod to Ayton though, because he was exhausted, played exhausting minutes tonight down low. I have to tip my hat to that. So, but Devin Booker for sure, right?
I think it's kind of across the board. Booker baby, D-Book of course, D-Book, Monte, kind of an easy one. Booker, the Kaminsky ejection.
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, seeing Devin Booker score 36 points on a game without Chris Paul just shows you how great this team really is. As Jay Pizel says in the chat, book it, man. I mean, he had a great game. He's supposed to step up in these games. He wasn't hiding. He did that. He was clutch at the beginning of the game. He was clutch at the end of the game. He's the reason the Suns are now 14-9. So the jam star of the game for both of us and the majority of the Jamsters is our buddy Devin Booker. Mm-hmm. Next up on Wednesday night, we have the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that is, favorite by many sports writers to potentially go to the NBA Finals. Currently, the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference at 16-8. Matthew, what are your thoughts on the Milwaukee Bucks?
Well, I mean, my thoughts basically are they're not really the team to worry about in the playoffs, but right now in the season, during the regular season, which we are in right now, the Suns just need to worry about that.
Verifying it.
This is the team you have to worry about because they're hard to stop. I mean, they just beat the Denver Nuggets tonight almost handily with Jokic going off too as well. But Chris Middleton, really, he's the guy that's really improved this team. I really thought and hoped that Giannis would maybe force a trade out of Milwaukee, just because I wanted the Suns maybe to hopefully trade for him. But that didn't happen because this team is just playing the best. They're the second team right now in the East, but they They are the best offensively everywhere. Stats across the board, of course, but a lot of it is Chris Middleton. He took his game to a next level to where he's not underrated anymore, but people are actually putting him at a perfect rating because he is probably going to be an all-star. He's going to be appreciated this year. So that's what they needed this year. And maybe hopefully it continues into the offseason, or I'm sorry, to the postseason for the Bucks. But for the Suns, I don't even know. Hopefully this is hopefully we can have a little bit of depth back by the time they play. I know Drew Holiday might be out, maybe for the Bucks, but for the Suns, hopefully we can get some guys back to help out with this game, because it's going to be a pain and it's going to be a punishment if we don't have a little bit of help off the bench.
Agreed. I mean, I really hope that the Suns return some of the starters back. I honestly think that Chris Paul, the hamstring soreness, today kind of felt like a rest day. I think this is you played yesterday, a tough game against the Celtics. You're playing a shitty or a less than average Cavaliers team. Perhaps this will be the game to take off, and hoping that he can come and he can play on Wednesday night against the Bucks. Now, you look at the Bucks, and they are a scary team. They're currently number 2 in the league in overall points. They're second in the league in rebounds. They're third in the league in assists. They're third in the league in 3-point percentage. They're second in the league in field goal percentage. They're 10th in the league in offensive rebound. I mean, it's 9th in the league in steals. I mean, across the really board, this is a good basketball team that's coming to town. And it's going to be a challenge in trying to defeat them, obviously. I don't know what to think yet. I hope for the best for the Phoenix Suns, but this might be one where, as Nathaniel Dara says, we need Chris Paul in this game if we have any shot. We need to have our big men back. We need to have our front line intact. We need to see Dario Saric again if we want to win this game.
Yeah, we definitely do. But I mean, if not, there's maybe some ways to beat them. I don't know. But the only thing that I'm really worried about is that they already got this win against the Cavs, much needed, because we're playing the Bucks, maybe shorthanded.
Exactly.
So a much needed win, man. It's if we go in and we put up a good fight and take the loss, and it feels a little bit better because of tonight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so let's do our jam session predicts for the next game. We'll review our picks for this past game. We said over under 215 overall points, 215.5. Matthew took the under. I took the over. Suns win 119 to 113. If my math is correct, that's 232. So I hit that one.
Yeah.
Blocks. Who would have more blocks in the game between Andre Drummond and our boy DeAndre Ayton? Andre Drummond had 2. DeAndre Ayton had 3, Matthew. Wow. We were both wrong. We both picked Drummond on that one. But you know what? We asked who wins, the Suns or the Cavs.
Yeah.
And we both got that one right. So that brings our overall season record to both 5-3 in trying to call Phoenix Suns games, because we started this 8 games ago, it appears. So let's take a look at our next game against the Bucks. Who's going to have more points, Middleton or Booker? You said Drew Holiday is going to be out.
Middleton. I'm going to say Middleton.
You're going to say Middleton on that one? Why?
Because he's a good scorer. And Booker already had a really good night tonight. And if we have Paul back, it wouldn't be the same game for Booker.
True. Very true. I think that, like I was about to say, Drew Holiday's out. Giannis is going to give you what he gives you, but they're going to need that secondary score if they want to win. And don't get me wrong. I mean, the Bucks are a balanced team, man. You look at that roster and you look at where they get their points. Obviously, you have Giannis leads the way with 27, but then Middleton's got 20. Bobby Portis is their 4th leading scorer with 11. Brook Lopez gives them 10. They got those annoying guys like DJ Augustine, Pat Connaughton, Dante DiVincenzo. These are a bunch of guys who can easily win our Jack Taylor Award for the guy who you don't know, who comes out of nowhere and scores a shit ton of points on you. I could definitely see that happening. But as Luis says in the chat, the Suns are more balanced offensively. And I think because of their balance, Booker will have a balanced game, especially if Paul's back, and Middleton will end up scoring more points. So I agree with you on that. How about overall fouls for DeAndre Ayton? Over or under 30 or 3.5?
I'm gonna say under because he was in foul trouble kind of tonight. He had a little bit of a hard time, but not too bad. I mean, it wasn't like the beginning of the season. So I'm gonna say under because he usually learns from it and he'll go into next game and just be. I mean, what are you gonna do against Giannis and against those big guys really down low? Like, there's not too much. So I don't think he's gonna force the issue too much to where he draws fouls because it's gonna happen if he tries too hard to maybe prevent them. If they're already in the paint under the basket, there's nothing really else you can do. Just let them lay it in or whatever. Otherwise, it's going to be an and one. Those guys are strong. Giannis is strong. Don't make it worse than it has to be. So I think he ends up with 2 this game. So what do you think?
How would you describe Giannis? Is he power or finesse?
Oh, good question. That is a really good question because he is more finesse for me, but when he does dunk it, it looks freaking great because he can throw it down like the rest of them, but he's trying to be more finesse. And I think he has a good jump hook that he can kind of intertwine into his game if he works on it. But I think of him as a finesse player. What about you?
Well, the reason I ask, I think he's more finesse than he is power as well.
Yeah.
But I think the reason I ask is because if Frank is starting, he's the one who draws the assignment because what's his name? DeAndre Ayton, he's gonna draw Brook Lopez. I mean, that's the 5. So starting with that kind of thought process, if he's finesse, he can get by Frank Kaminsky. I know Ayton, and Ayton he won't leave his man. I mean, that's almost to a fault sometimes. He will keep a hand on whoever his guy is. And if it's Brook Lopez and he's hanging out by the 3-point line or he's at the elbow, he's not going to leave him. So even though a lot of the Jamsters are given the over, we've got over, but he won't foul out, is what some people are saying. So Mario Lopez says over as well. I'm gonna ride with you. I think it's gonna be under 3.5 fouls. I think he'll end with like 3 fouls in this game because I don't think that Brook Lopez is gonna put him in the situations that are gonna make him foul. And I think that especially if we can get Saric back or Sticks gets some minutes or somebody can put some minutes out there that can get a couple of those fouls so DeAndre doesn't, I think it'll be beneficial for him and for the team overall.
I think so too. Yeah. And you bring up Sticks. I wish we could have saw him maybe tonight, but maybe this is just a game that we thought we had in hand and we didn't want to lose control too much and keep it close the rest of the game. So I guess he can't afford minutes to him, but anyways, we'll save that for another time, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Last question. The one that counts. Who wins, Suns or Bucks?
Dude, I'm going to say Suns. I'm going to say Suns win.
Okay.
And why?
Okay.
Because basically, if I say they lose and the Suns do win, it just would look terrible next game because it's a great matchup against the Bucks, and I really want the Suns to pull this one off just because 15-9 looks so good, and in the 4-game win streak it looks so nice. So I mean the Suns are confident against anybody, so playing to the level of the competition. John brings that up all the time. That's what they'll do. So if they can pull it off, it's going to be close, but I think they're gonna pull it off.
Okay. And valid reasons why as well. I like that. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say the Bucks win this game. I think
so
that
our record's going to be different then.
Our record will be different following this game because we are both 5-3 currently. I'm going to go the other way. I just think that they're a deep team. They're a team that is relentless and comes at you multiple ways. I feel like the Suns are still going to have guys out, unfortunately, and that's going to essentially cost us our depth. I hope I'm wrong, obviously, but I think that this is one of those games that the Suns don't pull out the dub. They lose by 3 or 4 points. It will be close, but I think that the finishing power of Giannis, the free throw line, whenever we play the Bucks, I feel like the refs are always uber involved in it and don't know how to call Giannis because he's a hard guy to call, and they give him the benefit of the doubt. And I feel like Frank Kaminsky is going to be in a lot of foul trouble, and I think that Damon Jones is going to have to fill some of those minutes, and he will be in foul trouble as well. So as much as it pains me to say, Bucks will win that game.
All right, man.
I feel like a bad Suns fan whenever I go against the Suns.
Nah, it's fine. I mean, it's the season. You're going to lose. The Suns are probably going to lose 20 to 25 games this season, right? So they have to lose some of them.
Yeah, and the Bucks are one of those teams where we could lose. Although, I mean, they did beat them last March 8th with you in attendance. So
yeah, me and my mama. Yep.
Yeah, you and your mama. Back before the pandemic started, the last home game, you were there, and they played them well. So hopefully we see that. That's what I'm hoping. So
yeah, and hopefully there's not a lot of Bucks fans there with the 20 people that are at the games. Hopefully it's like not half and half, you know.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. Did you hear them chanting MVP when Booker was shooting free throws and then he bricked one?
Yes, I love those chants are back.
But do you think that the players are going to take a little bit of getting used to? Because there was at one point when JaVale McGee got tossed, you could hear on the broadcast, it was like, "Fuck you, JaVale
Yeah,
Like
no,
you could hear it up in the background. I was just like, this is awesome.
yeah, the fans could talk back and forth from one section to the other, basically, with no one there. So, I mean, I guess they got to watch out for that stuff, but that's all in good fun, I think, right?
Yeah, it's all good fun, I hope, But I think that does it for this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast, unless you have anything else you want to talk about. I did finish Mad Men today. I'm finally done with that. So it's funny how, I think, was it you who was saying that to me yesterday when we were watching the Super Bowl? Or maybe it was Shannon later. She's like, whatever. Yeah, I drink whatever I'm watching.
Yeah. No, that's me. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's like when I'm watching Cobra Kai, I drink Coors Banquet beer, and then I'm going through 7 seasons of Mad Men. I start pounding old fashions. It's like I got to figure out another show, and so I can have something different to drink. I'm like, I just like to drink along with the characters, I guess.
Oh man, what's a show? Oh, Breaking Bad. You can start doing meth.
Oh yeah, I already went through that stage of my life.
Oh,
I lost 25 pounds. I didn't know where I was.
Okay.
So. Over that one.
All right, man. I don't have anything else really. I mean, this was a fun freaking game, dude. I'm glad we got to pod tonight. Your travels, you had to put your bath on hold. You put the bubbles in.
It's probably overrunning.
Yeah, hopefully you turn the water off for you and Shannon for after to get in. So you have fun with that tonight, John.
I'm going to go outside in Sedona and look up at the night sky and just appreciate the fact that I can see stars, because I watched the stars on the screen tonight with Devin Booker. I'm going to look up to the stars tonight and enjoy them. It's awesome having the ability to do a podcast in another city and far, far away from you. But you know what? It's probably I should get back to my vacation now.
You should, yeah. Enjoy yourself, John, and everyone enjoy yourself too. All the Jamsters.
Alan Bruce says in the chat, he's like, I need to watch Hawaii 5-0 and start drinking Mai Tais. I'm okay with that.
Go.
I got some rum at home. I can do that.
If you can stand the show, do it.
All right. Fair enough. Well, that will do it for this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. If you are watching along live on YouTube, remember to subscribe. Remember to give us those thumbs up buttons. If you're listening on the Brightside Podcast Network, please subscribe, rate, review, follow the show at Suns Jam on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can email us, sunsjamsession@gmail.com. If perhaps you have a mailbag question and you want to ask us something. I did see somebody mention the chat earlier, start throwing out some power forward trades for the Suns. I need to do a little research on that before I answer that question, but that's a very good question. I think that was Chris in the chat. So kudos to that. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit on the next podcast, especially because we're going against one of the most elite power forwards in the entire league. We got to talk about how we can bring him on to the Suns. But you can follow me on Twitter at Darth Voida. You can follow Matthew on Twitter
at Matthew Lissy.
Cheers, Suns fans. Another great win, 14-9. We'll see you on Wednesday.
All right, everyone go home and love your family.
Amen. Take care, everybody.